So what is it? It's a decentralized, autonomous organization. So basically what it really is, it's just computer code. It is only a smart contract on the Ethereum blockchain. That's all what it is about. And so you could say about it incentivizes people to self-organize. If you think about what is the DAO, Bitcoin itself is a DAO in some way. There's different actors like Bitcoin holders, miners, and so on. And you don't have any head in the Bitcoin world. So this is what we're trying to achieve with the DAO, and we just wrote a smart contract, and with Ethereum we have the possibility to write rather complex smart contracts, to put much more rules in them. And if you think what has the DAO, which is only one DAO which has been using our framework, and actually there are many of them out there. So people always think about only one, but actually there are several who have used our framework and started a DAO, but only one really has taken off basically and raised a considerable amount of Ether, the virtual currency of the Ethereum blockchain. So as of today, it's the largest crowdfunded project in history. It raised, depending on the Ether dollar price, about $150 million. And it enables people that have money and want to make a change in the world to directly connect to the people with a plan and time to make that change happen, basically. And we are now still in the very, very early days of this DAO. So I would just want to go very quickly to the code, because what a DAO is really just a code. And I just want to go very quickly about what this code actually does, and give you the main functions in this code which everyone can call and use. So basically, at the base of it is just a token, similar to Bitcoin or Ether or other token. You can transfer them, you can own them, and you could create them during the 4 weeks creation phase, which just ended last Saturday. So you have those functions like transfer, the token creation, where you could create tokens, and in the case the minimal goal was not reached, you would be able to refund it. The initial goal was set, I think, about 500,000, so we didn't use this function. In the main DAO contract, those are the most important functions and features. Basically, anyone who has DAO tokens can make a proposal for how to spend the Ether of the DAO. Everyone who has DAO tokens can vote on those proposals. Anyone can call the function execute proposals, which just tallies the vote, and if minimal quorum has been reached, and if more yes than no, then it gets executed. There is this ability to split the DAO. Basically, if a group of people are not happy with what the DAO is doing, they can form a split DAO, going away from the main DAO. This is also, for security reasons, very important, that this is possible. And in the case that the projects which are funded of the DAO generate rewards, everyone can call this function get my reward to get their share of the rewards, basically. So it's basically a very simplistic governance model. I set it out in a white paper. It turned out to be maybe even too simple in some cases. We have received some recent critique about how this government model is too simple and what could happen, some game theoretical attacks. So I'm happy that there have not been any bug in the contract as of yet. Nobody has found anything. But yes, there are game theoretical flaws inside it, and we are currently looking at how to address them, judging the severity of it and other things. So I think what is very important to notice in this big experiment, what it is, we just started it in its very early days. What is needed now for the next couple of weeks, and I hope that we can all contribute to it, is tools for better voting, tools for other smart contracts which have been written for example, delegated voting, like liquid democracy, which can all be implemented without changing the contract. I have heard of lawyers who wanted to work for the DAO and offer legal advice. I have heard about marketing companies who want to work for the DAO and do stuff for them. And I've heard about people who want to build a nice website. They only have token-based access. So a lot of people have a lot of great ideas, and that's what's generated by this. And they are now incentivized to do all of those things because they can make proposals. The DAO can basically vote on them and accept them. So I think we will now need a couple of weeks, maybe a month, to set up this, I would call it even basic infrastructure or tools around the DAO to make it more accessible, more safe, and all of this. So I think as a token holder, maybe some of them are in the room, some patience is required, but I think we are on the right path. And I'm really looking forward to what this DAO will become in a couple of months' time. So just some more explanations of how the DAO is structured. So you have this DAO code, which basically securely holds the ether, tracks the DAO token ownership, defines the governance, and manages the voting process. That's all which is done here. And contractors, they should write a new smart contract defining the rules how they interact with the DAO. And so you have contractors, they basically define their business model, if any. They define operational parameters, they define payment terms, and all of this. For example, Slock.it, as a completely different entity, will make a proposal to the DAO to be paid on a monthly basis for delivering certain products for the DAO, which they can use to generate rewards. So if you look at this, this is one example how we would imagine this. So the DAO basically orders products and services from contractors. They build the products, and then the DAO can use or charge users for using it. And one common misunderstanding I often hear, people heard this today, say the DAO is a VC fund. Well, it cannot buy equity as of today. So could you call something a VC fund which is not able to have equity in other companies? It's more of a legal question, and I'm not a lawyer, I cannot answer this. But as how I see it personally, but also again, it's not for me to judge, is the DAO is able to order products and services. In the case of Slock.it, we will want to build a universal sharing network, that's how we call it, as the basement of the sharing economy for them, that's what was mentioned, and they then actually can set a transactional fee, anything between 0 and 100%, how they, the DAO, charges other people to use this product. And that's a different model, I would say. And we will see what other proposals will come up with. That's completely up to the future. So some statistics maybe. So the top 50 DAO tokens holder have right now 42% of the DAO. So although the thought behind this was to have democracy in this process, but actually it's a plutocracy. It's really people who put more in have more power. But if you think about how much addresses we have right now, almost 23,500 different addresses, which does not mean different people. I guess it's about 5,000 to 10,000 different people, but it's really just a guess. So there are a lot of people really interested in it. If I look at some statistics on the web page, about 11,000 people on the web page each day. So it really has, a lot of people are interested in organizing themselves into this decentralized autonomous organization, and now we need to see how things will play out in the future, and that heavily depends on the token holders themselves and not on any single entity. And yeah, it's a great experiment. I'm really looking forward to it. And now with this amount of capital in it, it has the power to really change things. We heard about problems of open source projects, how can they get funded. We have a lot of things here which have some problem to get funded. And I think this is a great way of really having a more democratic way of getting funded projects in a very, I would not say easy way, but at least, for example, getting VC money is much easier in San Francisco than it is here. But this can be done in Africa, this can be done in third world countries and everywhere. So it's really something which should enable a lot of people to do different projects, and we will see how it turns out in a couple of years, but I'm very optimistic that this will have a very positive impact on society and how we think about organizational structure and power. Yeah, do you have some questions? This was about it. I want to make it short. Yeah, starting here, then go this direction. Yeah?
I have a question. To me, what this looks like is a very big compiler in that sense. Can't you add characteristics to this? So your game theoretic framework that acts. You could actually have a separate framework to just look at it and have a set of constraints that prevents those conditions from happening.
So basically, you're asking like how this can be updated, for example. Several things. First, the complete contract can be updated. Everything can be moved to a new one by a vote. So this makes things very secure. Second thing, a lot of things can be built around it. For example, some of the flaws which were mentioned, we have figured out we can solve by just having some constraints of which smart contracts can be added to a so-called whitelist. Yeah? And so there are different ways of doing it. And also it could be done by just partially sending Ether to another contract, which is in itself another DAO, with the same token holders at its base. So there are many different ways how this can be upgraded. Right now it's just to judge about how much it is needed to stop everything else or not. And that's a judgment the token holders need to make. We will, of course, advise them and say our opinion about those things. But what I really like right now is that so many people looking at it, because yes, it has raised much more than anyone expected, but that's a good thing actually, because now it creates awareness and people working for free on better governance model and things, and I'm really excited about the next couple of months and weeks actually. Yeah? Yes, you?
I think there's been some confusion of how you get Ether out of the DAO.
Yes.
Can you explain us what is for the process?
Yes, some confusion, because people have misinterpreted some of the things I put in the smart contract. There is this function called split DAO, which was sort of, I've not gone into much technical detail, but the DAO has a group of people called curators. They have the power to set address on the whitelist, where Ether can be sent to. And in the case there would be a malicious curator on stopping everything, I have this function where the people can split to a new DAO with a new curator. Basically, this would go through the whole creation phase again, 28 days, all of this, the people could split in this group. So now this can also be used to split alone and do something like we call solo split. This was not my intention, but it can be used as such. And people are complaining, rightfully so, that it's so complicated and it could be done much easier. Yes, because it was not thought as this in the first place, but it can be upgraded. I'm not opposed to having in the next version of the DAO contract a function called withdraw or solo split, which makes it much easier. So this what kind of was a misinterpretation of at least my intent when I wrote a smart contract, but it's correct. You can move your Ether out of the DAO alone. It's just not as easy as it should be. Hope this answers the question. Yeah?
You say dependencies a lot on token holders. So how do you manage dependencies with Ethereum itself? And I guess the example being Mist has some difficulties for some configuration to run the DAO contracts. And so how do you manage the dependency with Ethereum itself and the ecosystem you need to run the DAO, right? Because Mist, for example, has some issues on some configuration running the contract or bring back invalid data. And so obviously that's a very painful experience for the users. So how do you manage that dependency?
Partially. So basically, first, the Mist browser, which is the interface for Ethereum right now. If you use an older version, everything works fine. It's just a bug in the newer version that is hanging. Second, it's a decentralized system. For example, myetherwallet.com has a great interface for it, very easy to use, but you need to trust the website. It's actually happening what I wanted to see, that we have several entities building tools for it. And again, Slock.it is not responsible for building all the tools because we have done the smart contract and actually we want to step away from being held responsible for everything which happens around the DAO because we are not the managers of it. And people kind of need to understand this. And the problem with this, it creates a vacuum of leadership. And sometimes people want to step in this vacuum, but shouldn't. And so we will see how this also social experiment will emerge. But I'm actually very hopeful. Just this DAO has been live now since Saturday, and you already see proposals voting on stuff about governments. You see, so many web pages have been created to track things and do statistics, only in 4 days. And I know that the Ethereum community is very, very active. So right now, I think we just need a bit more patience, and all of those groups will build tools, also because they are incentivized to later on make a proposal to actually get paid for the work they do. And I think that the DAO will accept proposals for people who have already done a great deal of work or have put out nice tools and other stuff. So it was a bit of a chicken and egg problem of first build everything that is needed and then start a DAO, but without money, or start a DAO and have then money to build all the tools. So I think we are somewhere in between, where we have usable tools, but not as nice as they should be, and hope it will go on from there. Yeah.
I'm Rufo Gorensky from Open Media Cluster, Trustless Computing Initiative. What are the plans of DAO to stop possible hacking attacks, large-scale hacking attacks beyond the encryption layer of the nodes? We know that attacks to the endpoints are scalable, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and so is there any plan to, for endpoints at the client side or server side to avoid huge fails of authentication, integrity, or confidentiality?
Yeah, so the fail-safe mechanisms which are built in. First, the human part of it are the curators. Those are 10 people right now who are the only ones able to put addresses on the whitelist. So in the case you would see a big attack, or in the case something would break down, they could basically take everything from the whitelist so no money could be spent. So that's one thing they can do. They can also say we only allow something on the whitelist which actually fixes a problem, like a new DAO contract where we can update to. So the curators are kind of a fail-safe mechanism, but also their real duty is actually only to identify persons who want to go on the whitelist. Their power is actually much more. We have to see how they will use this or not use this. They are currently discussing this actually. So one fail-safe mechanism is this. The other one is the so-called split DAO, which has a debating period of 1 week, which is shorter than any other proposal, which have to be at least 2 weeks. So at any time, you can create the split DAO proposal and split alone or as a group to your own DAO, or where you are the creator and you have the power. So those are the two main fail-safe mechanisms. Basically, you can put your money out, and the curators at least have the power to protect you if they see something like this. But I'm not saying that it's 100% safe for all those things which could happen. There are attack vectors which could be run where you don't see them as attack vectors. I call them sometimes the Kickstarter attack. For example, if someone just proposed something really nice, which really just looks nice, yes, people can vote on this and lose money. And that's just how it is in the real world. So this is a risky instrument. I never said something else. But I think we have mitigated risk quite a lot by having the curator and the split DAO function, where you can go away from the DAO again. I hope this answers your questions. So, yep, there's a hand there. Yes?
How does the communication go between the different stakeholders? Do they need to read the blockchain, or does it have a via email? And
communication is a bit of a problem right now. I would say the DAOhub.org site is the best one to go to, the forum. I think this is right now where most of those people meet. That's also where the proposals get verified, where you can look at them and discuss them. Other than that, yes, tools are built. I know of one group who are building right now a forum where you can only enter if you can sign a message with your key, which proves that you hold a certain amount of tokens, so that only token holders are in this group and not people spamming other stuff in there. So those tools are built, but right now I would say DAOhub.org, the forums are the best place to start with. It's bootstrapping phase. Bootstrapping phase is the problem. It's hard to bootstrap something decentralized, completely decentralized. But I hope that there will be other forums, other places, and better tools in the future.
One short question. I think the voting part is like 20% need to be for the proposal or something.
The minimal quorum, yes.
That's 25 people.
Yes, but they have not the power to. So basically, this is to reach the quorum. Yes, you need to have at least 20% of the tokens. But then within there, it needs to be more yes than no.
They all say, okay, the others can say no.
The other can say no and downvote things. But yes, I agree. It's not completely democratic. It is.
Fascinating how big the big ones.
Yes, the big ones, 50 people hold 42% of the money. And you can argue about if it's good or bad. There are good and bad things about it. My personal opinion is a lot of the smaller token holders sometimes are not looking at proposals that don't take too much time for it, because maybe they've spent like 10 euros or whatever to play with it. But actually the bigger ones, they will take time to review proposals. And somehow the minority at least relies a bit on the wisdom of the large token holders to scan things. But of course, everyone should participate. This experiment will fail if people don't participate. That's, I think, the biggest risk of this DAO is apathy, or like apathetic voters, like lazy voters who don't do anything. I think we are running out of time, but there's one more question.
Yeah, so where do you think, I mean, this is really infancy here, but where do you think this is going to be in a year, and how do you think this is going to impact things in relation to the other, like, crowdfunding initiatives and everything? How is this going to be in a year?
Yeah, so I really don't know, but what I think when we now looking back at this from a bit distance, I think it really changes crowdfunding in several senses. One, giving the people more power is something they want. That's what you can see here. So just making a Kickstarter campaign, hoping to raise some money, not being responsible for it, is not a future in my opinion. Here, for example, those contractors, I mean, we as Slock.it, we could have just done a token sale, and I guess we would have been better out of it. But this one actually, we need to say you pay us on a monthly basis. That's a risk for us. We give them power to change those parameters. So we really give them the power, but we hope that they appreciate it and help us to build the project. But I think in the future, also another thing which is nice about those tokens is those tokens can have a meaning. Meaning, in the sense of for us as Slock.it, those tokens can be used to actually open the locks without paying the fee. So you actually give them something which is a product in itself, and they are part of it. And now we have also those network effects. We are starting with about, let's say, 10,000 people. I think they will be our first clients. They will be advertising this stuff. They will go on social media and fight for the products of the DAO. Let's say there are 50 or 100 different companies working for the DAO, and they have 10,000 people fighting for them on social media. You're starting with a high network effect if you work for the DAO, or with the DAO. But also you get, working with the public is hard. We just experienced this. Reddit and all of this is really, really hard negotiating contracts with the public, but I think it's the future. But I think time is over.